Hey everybody, it's Cameron of Speed Tech Performance, and today I'm sitting here with someone you may see as a familiar face, the one and only Mr. Cool, Mr. Efrain Diaz.
God, dude, rock on, guys.
So, what are you doing here today at Speed Tech?
Picking up my front clip finally, so I can go about reassembling the car.
So reassembling, so this year, as you notice, you came off of a nice high win with the Optima series and whatnot, and then 2022, you've been in a rebuild phase.
Complete rebuild. One thing led to another, and installed the IRS and found some issues with the car and decided to fix everything that was wrong with it. So the whole car got shredded. All the interiors out, the roll bars, roll cage, everything just got taken out of the car.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking new power plant, everything.
Yeah, the power plant died in December after the event was there. We were at a Fast on Falcon Day, and it saw its last.
You were a little too fast?
I was a little too fast.
So from this point, so you've got the IRS, and we're sitting here, it's about mid-December. And you have any goals for when the car's complete? What's your plans for next year?
Target is to probably bring it out for LS Fest. I'd like to be out a lot further than that, but I have so much work to do.
Yeah.
Because it's getting new body panels, it's getting some extra super secret extra body panels in there. It's going to be ABS on top of that, so that's going in there, and just all these different things that I'm changing and trying out. So it's going to be a very familiar car, but unfamiliar at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like you and I were just talking off camera. It's such an eye-catching car, being bright yellow and black, and everyone knows, oh shoot, Efrain's here today, we're going to lose. So
it's even worse than that because they don't know my name; they just know the car.
That's okay. I mean, if you have to be known by something besides your name, it's better to be known by something cool like a car.
I like the stick carrying the weight for me. So.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, we're super excited to have you as one of the newest members of our team. We think, 2022 is a great year for us as a whole team. But 2023, man, we're going to have you back on the road, some heavy hitters. Nick's going to be back with us. So you've always been kind of part of the team arch enemy with Nick, and now you guys are going to be on the same team. How's that going to play out this year?
I think there's going to be more trouble for the third member of the team that's out there. It's like now we're going to be ganging up on him, but it never really was about that because at the track, it doesn't matter. One of us breaks, all of us break, and we're just diving in and go help each other get it done. Because at the end of the day, we want to say, I beat you, heads up, not because you broke.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's what's so great about this community we're in, autocross, road course, whatever it is. It might be a smaller event like a Good Guys event that's just strictly autocross, or it could be an Optima event with full road course. If somebody breaks, it doesn't matter, for us speaking suspension-wise, it doesn't matter who's under your car. That's how we met you at first, is you were just friends with everybody, and it's such a great community that we live in and we're a part of, and I feel lucky that we get to do this every day.
No, I agree. It's like when I first met all the guys from Speed Tech, it was by accident. I got invited because other people didn't show up. So I worked for a whole weekend just to get my car ready to go there. Turns out I was the only guy that drove to the event. So it was like 3.5 hours up there on a car that was just put together like at midnight that night before. And, talked to Blake and got to race against some real iconic cars. Nobody knew who I was, and actually finished really good.
Good.
So I was pumped.
How long have you had your car at?
God, 22 years.
22 years?
Yeah.
How many times have you completely redone the car?
7 times. This is the 7th iteration of this car.
7 times you've completely redone the car.
Yes.
Can you...
Well, suspension-wise.
Do you want me to lead in those questions?
Yeah, do like a high-level 7 iterations.
Okay.
And then...
let's see.
Okay, so I'll just ask that question again, and then it's a good idea.
Well, and also the history of the car.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of a depressing history. I got it as therapy. It was after a divorce, and I had to sell my Corvette. That's why I'm soft spot for the C2s.
C2.
So it's like, oh man, I really missed that car, but I had to sell that to get back on my feet because I was living in my van, dude. I was living in the street. It's like I lost everything.
I think you're already talking about this. And the
No way.
guy that you work for now helped you, right?
Yep. He took me in. He realized I was living in the office.
No way.
Yeah, he took me in, and he's a
Wow.
veteran, Marine
Wow.
and I was in the Army, so it's like he took me in, and it's
You guys
like
had that
we built
initial
this.
brotherhood. And,
Yeah, we built this really good friendship, and he guided me through my early parts of my career. And
man, that's beautiful though, because like I mean, as you know, I've been through my own divorces,
dude, they're terrible.
and it literally knocks you down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I've
it can make you, break you, or just totally bend you in a different way.
But what's even crazy, and I'm going to try to not get emotional saying this, is the car community through the last year and a half has kept me so, looking forward to an event or looking forward to a shoot that we might go to or whatever, because, it like you said, it knocks you down, and it's amazing, the family element and things that you can get with a tangible object like a Camaro,
Right.
And it's something that then builds a life of its own. So you've had this car for 20 years, you've built it 7 times now, and it's literally like a child to you, essentially.
It's
a
definitely
memory.
an extension of me. It's a lot of memories, because one of the main times I was like getting ready to get rid of the car, and my mom got sick. So it's like during the time she was sick, I was using that to like release, and then she died, and I stalled, and I just opened up the garage one day and just did one thing, and that led to more things, and it's like
When
it
did the car
ate at
come
my
along?
car.
So you had a divorce, which I've been through as well. It's tragic. You sold the Corvette to keep yourself going, and then when did the Camaro come into your life?
Actually, I bought the Camaro after I sold the Corvette. I found it at the swap meet, and I always knew I was going to get something, but it was a POS. But I knew I needed something, so I bought the car and I put it at my parents' house, and it sat there for a while until I can get to it.
So it was garage therapy.
Yeah, it's the only thing I could really do. And it's like losing my mind out there. It's like, God, here we are, and you lose everything. It's disheartening.
Yeah, for sure.
But like you found a second life almost with the car.
Yeah.
Like friends that you never would have had if it wasn't for the car.
Yeah.
Like look how close you and Nick are, and you and a bunch of other people like Chad and whatnot, and like it's because of the car.
Yeah, it's a like-minded community comes together, and it's amazing how similar a lot of people's stories are, or this experience that we share. And it's like that's a good bond to have, knowing that you're like, I mean, it'd be ignorant to think that you're the only one,
Right.
but
when you're caught up in it, you feel like you're the only one.
you do, because because it's just deeply personal to yourself, and it's like your whole world changes, your friends change, your animals change, the geographic location of where you are, your jobs can change. I mean, just everything.
If you have
is
kids,
impacted.
you might not see them as much as you. That for me, that was the killer.
Yeah.
I went from tucking my kids in every night to tucking them in 3 nights a week.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that sucks because those 4 nights of
it
that
gets
week.
better as they get older,
Yeah.
but it's like when they were little, that's the time you really wanted to sit there and make that connection.
Yeah, my daughter wasn't even a year old.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And so
So,
like I get it. That's tough. On the nights when you come home from work and you're home alone.
Yeah.
For me, it's my motorcycle. I hop on my bike and I go for a cruise.
sure.
It's the motorsport aspect of anything. Motorcycle, car, whatever. Great friends that you meet with your motors.
Yeah, absolutely. I would sit there and put everything, since I was living on my own. When I finally get back on my feet, the kitchen table was car parts.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's
It's great
go.
when you're not married.
Yeah. I mean, that's bad.
Bathtub is your parts washing bin.
No, I was never that bad. I've actually seen that meme. I was like,
Lots of
God.
pans catch
I was kind of mad that I didn't think about that. That would have been an excellent idea, but it's like, no.
So 7 iterations over 22 years, sort of high level. Can you summarize those sort of 7 major reconstructions of the car? Was there ever any was it always that you wanted to continue developing the car, or was there any tragedy where the car had to be rebuilt from something, or was it really you're just developing the car?
No, in all honesty, I was actually going to restore the car because it's an early production rally sport. It still had the original motor, still had the original trans, and all the original interior. I mean, all the glass was original. It's the I don't know, Astrovent it still had all its original windows. So they were all the Astrovent tinted green, all that stuff in there. Everything was there, and the guy was smart enough when he packed it away for I don't know what reason, because it actually ran still.
Jeez.
So he pulled the body plugs out, took the carpet out, and pulled the vinyl top off the roof.
So he's prepping it to be stored, essentially.
I couldn't really figure out why he did it. He couldn't really give me the background story.
Huh.
It came out of I want to say it was in the Valley or whatever, and I found it at Pomona. And I think he wanted $5,500 for it. And, there was some
Numbers
pinholes in the
matching.
floor. Yeah, it was pretty much a numbers matching car, but it was a little beat up. It had like rust primer. The paint was completely faded. It sat under a tree for the most part, on a tarp. So
Now
55 was way more money than I wanted to spend on it, but it's like I wanted a rally sport because when I was in the Army, I had a 69 regular coupe. It was a 6-cylinder, and found a junkyard motor for $50 and put a V8 in it. And I raced that thing.
Heck yeah.
And then I traded a motorcycle that one of the guys deployed out, gave me his bike, and I traded that motorcycle for a 67 convertible. So I had both those cars when I was in the Army.
Yeah.
And I would do fire burnouts on Friday nights for the kids in the neighborhood, and it's like soak the tires with gasoline and rip it up.
No way.
Yeah, this is out in Kentucky.
Do you have any pictures or anything of that?
I do have pictures of that car.
I wanna
that thing
see
was
that.
a mess. I bought it for $400. The whole side of it looked like somebody ripped it open against a guardrail. It was just the fender was gapped open and Bondo everywhere in this car. But it ran. It ran like crap, but it ran.
But think about what you did for those kids even.
Oh, they loved it.
You know what I mean? Like,
They loved it.
like I remember, so growing up, 69 Camaros have always been my favorite too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people love them. But my literal next door neighbor had one growing up. And when he would either take me for a ride or do a burnout for me, those were like the 2 best days of my life, And so you doing these fire burnouts for those kids, that's freaking cool.
Yeah, hindsight, it probably wasn't the best idea. But,
But you could have sparked a new generation of motorhead.
yeah, you never know. It's like I love when I cruise my car because I drive it a lot in the street. And it's like there's one kid in the neighborhood, he hears my car and he comes running out of the front and he's like waving at me. I just love this kid, man. It's like so awesome. It's like this, my family, it's like, they see it all the time. Nobody cares. And it's like with this little kid, like just comes out and his lights.
That's how Tom
it's
and I,
awesome.
we went out in Kyle Phillips's Matte Black 56. And as we were on our way to the shoot, we pulled up next to a school bus full of kids. And this thing's pretty rowdy sounding and everything. And it's matte black, just sinister looking car. And I look over and there's kids just like this on the window, and the bus driver's like doing the thumbs up and everything,
Yeah.
It's
Because Priuses aren't cool.
No, they're not. And you can't hear them. Right? You can't hear them. So, no, that's super cool. Yeah, that's way cool.
So did you always know that you were going to road race the car?
No, I was going to restore it 100%. I was going to bring it all back because it had most of the bones there to sit there and restore it. And I was like sitting there doing this stuff and go to a few of those car shows, and I didn't want to be one of those weenies that sits there and they tow their junk and all they do is polish it and they talk war stories about stuff they probably never even do. And it was good guys. I started seeing Mary Posey and some other people there that, driving their stuff, and I was like, thought it was pretty stupid because I was a drag racer guy. I just wanted to drag race. And I was like, that's lame. I don't want to do that stuff. And I was like, the track started shutting down around me. So I was like, well, here I got this car. Now I need to change direction from a drag type car or an original car. It's like, let's make this into a drag type car. And then from the drag type car, now I got to transition to something I can actually use. So it's like stock A-arms, went to Global West and started doing the Global West stuff. From Global West and went to Hotchkiss. From Hotchkiss, I went to SPC, and I actually had a set of the AFX spindles. So I did SPC, AFX spindles, and I found a bare brake front kit for it and converted the back to the 92 F-body, whatever that popular conversion for the 12 volts were back then, just to have disc. And then I pulled the automatic trans that was in it, put the stick shift in it, and turns out the car was it had everything was there for the stick.
All the cutouts.
So all the cutouts were there. You just pop the panels off, and it was such an easy conversion to sit there and do.
So I want to know your first take when you did your first autocross lap. How did you feel? Like, because you catch the bug. Like once my very first lap when I wasn't driving was with Nick actually. As a passenger, and anyone who's ridden with Nick knows like he drives hard, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you watch it and you're like, oh, that's cool, until you feel the literal, the lateral G that's pulling you.
Right.
and you're like, okay, we're going this way, and all of a sudden, oh shoot, we cut back this way. It's crazy.
You would think the car would never do that.
No,
Like, we're going to crash.
And so the first time you went across, an autocross course, how did you feel?
Got it. And actually, in actuality, the first time I actually did it was years later. I mean, I just never really got the bug to go do that. And I'm trying to figure out when that actually happened. I know I was trying to get the car ready, and this is actually in the later years. I want to say it's like 2013, 2014. Sit there, and I went and tried to do a little skid pad stuff that somebody was putting on a skid pad event, and I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. The car's working okay.
Yeah.
It was better than it was
For
stock.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough. I saw what the other cars were doing and immediately went and tore it all apart again.
You're like, well, round 3, here we go.
Yeah, round 3 is where the big stuff started coming in. It's like after I went to, I think that's now the SPC control arms and the AFX spindles and the bitter brakes. And I was like, all right, this is working out good. And I put a hot 383 in it. And I was going to go to my first event. I went to it's a friend of mine's event in Irwindale. It's called the Internal Combustion Festival.
Okay.
And I took it over there, and everybody's doing these monster burnouts, and I freaking dropped a hammer on this thing, burned out halfway up the street, just shattered the motor. And I was like, well, there goes that crap.
You're like, guess we're not autocrossing next weekend.
So, yeah, we're not doing that. So then the motor rebuild had to happen again, and then finally did that and built another 383 for it and scattered that motor. So that was the end of that. Now I finally went to LS. I found a wrecked 92 or whatever, something like that, and I pulled the motor and the trans out. So that's when it went to T56. And
so you had the LS1,
yeah,
which is basically a 350 that's
right.
modernized.
Yep, and I took it to the Run to the Coast event, and it was so new and so underpowered that those cars were kicking my butt. I met up with Steve Rupp and some other guys, and they gave me rides in their cars, and I was like,
you're like, hold on,
eye openers.
Yeah,
eye openers. I was like, okay, this is nowhere near enough. It's like now I got to go better, and I'm pretty sure there was a Speed Tech car there. And I want to say it's the black Nova or the black Camaro.
A Resurrection?
Yeah, that was there.
That car.
Yes, one of those cars were there.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, this.
Camaro lower front balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, this is Run to the Coast event, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get ready for this thing. And there was number 5, I think, at that point, getting torn down and getting some more stuff done to it, and that's when I found a different subframe. Went with the Scott Mock. I don't know if you know him, but if you know the Morrison frame, Scott Mock made a very, very similar frame, did the same stuff with the Corvette geometry, except he actually narrowed the rail so you can put a 335 in the front.
Okay.
So, I found that from a guy whose project stalled, and I drove all the way to freaking New Mexico. Drove to New Mexico, got a smoking deal on that, and he had a set of fixie wheels. So I got a brand new set of fixie wheels, the front subframe, and a bunch of his spare parts for just, I want to say it was like $1,500.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it was just a smoking deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it was worth the trip. So down came the car again, and from there, that's when you guys saw me at the Super Chevy event.
Yeah.
And that was the first real taste of road coursing and doing all that stuff.
Shoot, at that point, that's been 5-6 years ago? Or even longer. Yeah. So like you're saying, you've got cast-off parts, third, second, fourth-hand parts, things like that you found on eBay or Lateral G. So, I want the people to know this is something he did in his garage, and it didn't all come at once. This is a 22-year build, essentially. But it's something that can be done part by part, piece by piece, and then you see something that might need to be replaced, you replace it, you build it, and essentially you've won Optima. Yeah. Like you were the GTV class winner, which is a big freaking deal. Twice. Okay, and so this is a car again that he's built in his garage, and he's not a builder, but you are a builder. You're a blue collar builder, something that you did after your regular 9-to-5 job in your garage, and look where you're at today.
Yeah, there were many late nights to early mornings on that car, and there still will continue to be.
Yep.
It's getting a little harder. I'm getting a little older, but I still have the same fire to sit there and make that car better. Key is just don't get complacent. It's like everything can always find an improvement, and it could be something small. It's like, just don't sit there and, be satisfied with what you have. Push. Just keep pushing. So, I mean, it's gone through everything.
So what are the highlights for build 7?
Oh God, I'm just so stoked to use the extreme front clip and the IRS. I'm just chomping at the bit to see what that's going to do together. So I mean, running with Nick and stuff like that, I already know what the torque arm's going to do. I know what it's going to feel like. I've driven his car, and it's fantastic. I'm just hoping for more out of mine. So.
Well, yeah, and so you've got our components underneath, and so you're changing out the power plant, like you said.
Yes.
You're getting Scoggin Dickey?
It's a Scoggin Dickey LSR block. So
Okay.
it's, I think we're running low on production LS7 blocks, and my block had windows all over the place, so unusable. And for about $1,000 more, this one already has the Darton sleeves in it. It's thicker webbing. It's a thicker casting. It's 100% made here. It's just a badder piece. It's just, it just made sense to spend the money and go that way.
So when they dynoed it, what are you going to be looking at power wise?
It's 700 with a couple add-ons. If you want to do a couple tweaks to it, it goes above 7. And torque is almost the same. It's 680 pounds of torque.
All naturally aspirated.
All NA. It's like I don't
so cool.
add no chargers, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's like I try to keep my car simple, but this time around it's getting some technical upgrades. Like I said, the ABS is coming up, and it's stuff that I'm just not used to. And being an old car guy, I still wanted to keep it old, but that reliability for the LS you just can't beat.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what events this coming year are you looking forward to most?
I can't say I was looking forward to anything, really. It's like I just wanted to get the car out there, get my feet wet again, to shake off the rust and let it be known that I'm back.
Yeah.
And that was my intention. That's still my intention and my first and foremost goal. LS Fest is the first thing really on the calendar that's worthwhile going to. And my track record with LS Fest has not been good. I only completed one LS Fest out of every one I've gone to. Yeah, I scattered the transmission on one, and then I had complete loss of oil pressure on the other. So it's like, and this is like 1 or 2 runs and I was done. Literally just did all this work, did all that stuff, towed all the way over there, and fell flat on my face. And the very first one I went to was awesome. I actually finished in the Fast 8 for the shootout at lunchtime. I was the only old car against all the modern Corvettes.
That's cool.
And out of the 8, I finished 4th or 5th.
Wow.
And I was like pumped, because I was like, these were some notable dudes that were out there. So I was like stoked, and I think some more people started knowing who I was and thought it was badass that an old car was doing this. And that just continues to light the fire.
Yeah.
But then this year, Optima freaking opened up that schedule, man. Dude, they got Laguna Seca.
Laguna Seca. When I saw that, I was like, everyone's going to want to go to Laguna Seca.
They put Daytona back on the map, and that's another course that I wanted to go to, and I missed twice already. And Thunder Hill, for nostalgia purposes, that's where Nick and I really solidified our friendship over there.
Really?
Yeah, it's like we met in Fontana for one of the events, because I actually thought his car was Mary Posey's car, because they're similar colors and they're both second gen. So I thought it was Mary's car, and I was actually looking at his, and it's like, oh. So we talked there, and we competed, and it was good. But Thunder Hill, we were pitted right next to each other, and we just hit it off even bigger. And it's like we're just like feeding off each other, trying to figure out, what are you doing here, what are you doing there, and like in the autocross, we were like maybe a couple tenths apart, and he's over there cheering me on to beat his time, and I'm trying everything I can to beat his time, and I couldn't get past him. So it was just that kind of stuff you just don't really see.
Right.
So it's like from there it just blossomed into what it is now. Just I don't know. It sounds like a bromance, so I'm gonna just leave that alone.
Hey, no, I mean,
so big transformation in 2022 on the car.
Yes.
Will people recognize the car? What should people look for to find this season?
It's basically going to be the same, but again, like I said, I'm thinking about making some hard changes in the actual appearance of the car, whether it be color, whether it be lack of the two-tone scheme of things. It's still going to be 69, because I really don't want to ruin what a 69 is to me, but interior-wise is going to be totally different. IRS, when you look at it from the back end, is going to be totally different. The entire sound of the thing is going to be totally different. Whether I stick with the 6-speed or not still remains to be seen. That might change as well. I have lots of grandiose plans, but the problem is the schedule the way it is right now. I'm going to run out of time real fast and in a hurry.
For sure.
But the name of the game was weight loss, more safety. So I had more bars to the cage, and and definitely a stiffer chassis for myself for the front, and everything that comes with it. It's going to be a fantastic piece. I mean,
so front to back, whole new car.
Back. And all this is happening in a garage 2 feet off the ground. I mean, I don't do this for a living. This is just something I do.
And that's an important part that I also want to point out to people and make sure they know is this is a huge project, what you're doing. Like you said, it's just something, I'm doing in my garage, but it's a big project.
Dude, that IRS install was insane. I can't even tell you how many times I was calling Jeremy up trying to figure out what to do. And once you cut that massive hole in it, it's full on commitment. And I have enough tenacity to sit there and do that.
Well, and it's daunting, but on the flip side of the coin is you did it, and so you're not a builder, but you've got some mechanical, you've got some know-how, you've got some grit, and
don't forget the lack of intelligence.
And you've got the lack of intelligence, but you did it.
Yes.
And it's something, and you're going to be able to look back and say, look where I've started 20 years ago to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And look at this car. Look at the literal beast that I've created.
Yeah. Well, I felt like that over the last couple of years. It was like, God, I'm going against guys that spent Googles of money and having pro-built shops do this stuff. And it's like, mine's just this home built. I mean, literally the car, when it was actually beginning to be competitive, was all eBay stuff.
Yeah.
It was eBay. It was Pro Touring. It was, Lateral G. It's people's cast-offs. Everything people cast off and then changed up got put on my car, and it all worked. Brakes were secondhand. The radiator and supports were secondhand. The motor was third-hand. Everything was just they were quality pieces when they were new, and just time had passed them up, but not for me. They fit my need.
So you made something work, and then you had a ton of seat time, experience, drove the heck out of the car.
Yeah.
So again, just wanted to sit down with you. You're here to pick up parts. Didn't want to take too much of your time, but want to say thanks for sitting down. We're super excited about this coming year. Again, you guys are going to want to follow him at
F's Camaro at Instagram.com or F's Camaro at Facebook.com.
Okay, so you're going to want to pay attention to him, what he's got coming. And as he said, LS Fest West, which is in Las Vegas, Nevada, you're going to want to be paying attention to what's going to happen there because there's some big things coming.
Yeah, for a lot of us. I'm stoked to be on Team Speed Tech. We're going to do some good things in 23, man.
Heck yeah.
Rock on.